Visionary Ventures with Rohan Bansal, impact investing strategy and finance expert.
Thank you so much, Rohan, for joining me on this episode of Karishma Connect. It's a pleasure to have you. I'm so happy that you reached out and we could do this. It's an amazing story that I look forward to sharing. Thank you again.
Absolutely, Karishma. Great to be here and very excited to share and also talk with you about different aspects of my journey as well as what I see in the world today in the world of entrepreneurship and different sectors as well. So happy to be here.
Most welcome. Now, the first question I ask on Karishma Connect is tell me about your journey so far because you would say it best. So please go ahead.
Absolutely, would love to. So I come from India. So I've worked for 10 years in India across different sectors, and I've lived most of my life in India. I started my career with investment banking, did 2 years in Citigroup, then was bitten by the entrepreneurship bug, where I quit my job to pursue a full time entrepreneurship journey in the world of travel because I was very passionate about solo traveling and solving for a particular challenge in the travel industry itself. So started a company called Trip Dukan, which was I think one of the best learning experiences of my life because I got to build a brand from the ground up, learned how different aspects of startups worked, and this is what started the entire journey of entrepreneurship and startups for me, and completely changed my trajectory from going from a typical finance role to actually moving towards career in entrepreneurship and different elements of finance to support entrepreneurs in general. So did that for 3 years. Was one of the best experiences of my life. Did various aspects of understanding customer behavior, how consumers think, and also how entrepreneurship works from the ground up in India, especially. And then moved on to a different role in a new setting, also an AI startup called Industrial AI back in India. This was a brand new experience for me because I got to learn from other entrepreneurs as well in this space and got to work on really cool technologies in AI that were contributing to net zero and sustainability goals in India in manufacturing. And this was a great learning experience as well because got to understand how technology could be applied into manufacturing settings and different elements coming together to promote net zero and climate sustainability goals in India. I think during this time also was involved in private equity, so was involved in sustainable investing, sustainable infrastructure in India, and we can talk more about that obviously. But that's been my journey so far, Karishma. And post that, I'm in Oxford right now. I decided to come to Oxford to pursue my MBA. It's been a fantastic year in the past year, and very excited to see what comes up because it's been a great journey, and the journey in the future is also something I'm very looking forward to. So that's been my journey so far. A very diverse background, but looking forward to an exciting journey up ahead as well.
How would you say that that kind of diversity led you to getting that sort of achieving that Oxford dream? Because it is a dream for many, and they have quite a few. And the only word that comes to my mind is there's a lot of paraphernalia around it. There's a lot of different ideas around it. What it is really like, and also what did that diverse experience actually contribute to?
Absolutely. I think that's a great question and something that I got to learn more about here because in Oxford, in my cohort itself, there are people from 60 plus nationalities from all over the world coming from different backgrounds, different cultures, bringing in different perspectives. And the fact that I had a diverse background in many different industries allowed me to share a perspective from both working on the ground as an operator in terms of running a startup, but also on the other side where you are looking to deploy capital and looking to understand how startups work. So it gave me perspective of different elements of how startups work, both from an operational perspective, but also from an investment perspective. I think that that in itself built such a broad scope and perspective of how startups work because people usually come from one or the other aspect, and the diverse setting that I was part of allowed me to contribute a lot more to different elements of the Oxford journey as well, because there are folks here who come from a science background who know how to build products but want help in commercializing those products to the market, and the people from the finance background who have that who want to build startups and need that technical and commercial expertise as well. So I think all of this came together to create a really wonderful learning journey for all of us in the MBA. So I think, and that diversity definitely contributes both in terms of cultural perspectives as well as uh, professional perspectives, but also personal perspectives where people come in from different passions and understanding and what they want to do in the future. So I think that creates a lot of uh, value for all of us in the cohort here. Yeah.
What does it take, Rohan, to be able to commercialize something in today's times, according to you?
I think what I think there are two aspects to it. One is, of course, you have to have a product or a service that people will want to buy. So understanding how consumers think about the product is very crucial to because if you have a product that consumers are not willing to purchase or there's not enough need for it, because you often see products in the market where entrepreneurs build products in the first place and then try to fit into a particular problem set or try to define a problem based on the product. But it's actually the other way around, where you actually go ground up, understand what are the foundational principles of the problem itself, and then work your way up to defining a solution that meets those needs. So I think there's one aspect to it, which is aligning your product or service to the customer itself, and that in itself is a big selling point, because if you're attacking a problem that consumers face today that is very crucial and not that's something that they can't live without, that is something that you know that you have a winner in there itself. I think that's one aspect to it. And second aspect, I would say, as part of an investment team, we also consider the fact that where what is the background of the founder itself, and whether they're passionate enough and have the capacity and willingness to take this up 10 years down the line. So we try to understand if the founder is has that capability to weather any storms that come in the market or with the business model itself, and can pivot very quickly. So I think these are the two aspects that it takes to commercialize: is very capable and willing founder who's all in, has 100% skin in the game, but also a product that has is backed by a real consumer problem that is existing in the market and is not solved by any of the existing products. So I think that's what it takes to commercialize product, and that's what we do in terms of commercializing, is that we build a strategy around what is the value proposition of this particular product and how do we convey it best to the market and to investors as well who would be willing to back it. So these are the two aspects, I would say.
And where does impact investing fall within the scheme of things?
I think impact investing is a very broad term today, Karishma. I think it's picking up quite steadily, particularly in the fields of AI, and it's focused on sustainable development goals, but also climate tech and different aspects, which obviously we could dive into. But in terms of impact investing, I would say there are three main themes in impact investing. So there's a very broad spectrum in impact investing. On one hand, you have the traditional investing where investors focus on financial returns, but there's the other spectrum where there's impact first investing, which is impact over financial returns. So these are investors who care more about the ethical, social considerations of any particular company's activities or products versus the financial returns. And there are different aspects in between. So you have thematic specific investing, which means that investors would, if you're passionate about certain sector like climate tech or AI or different sectors, so that's thematic focused impact investing, where there's a balance between impact and finance, but they only invest in certain themes. But then there's a different aspect to it, which goes to the traditional element of financing, which is socially responsible investing. So investors would screen negatively for companies that they feel are harming society on a broader level, let's say tobacco, weapons, or many other aspects of that. So I think there's a broad spectrum of impact investing. But if you talk about commercializing technologies or products, uh, impact investors typically look for products that will change the market in certain ways. So, one example is, if there's a financial technology product that aims to connect healthcare technologies for the poor with telehealth doctors sitting thousands of miles across the globe. That's something that they would look at as an impact first product, which means that this technology would solve for or would connect a certain number of individuals with quality healthcare across the globe. So this is just one example of technologies. But you also see technologies in climate technology, which could be around carbon removal from the atmosphere, which is very crucial in today's day and age. So any technology that comes across in that aspect would be considered impact first investment. And if you're commercializing a particular product, you have to think about it from that aspect, particularly if you're building in climate tech or AI and its application towards different elements. So you have to consider either the social aspect to it, which is what are the positive and negative externalities, which means the impact of the technology usage on the broader society or different aspects of the market, and also the long-term potential in terms of how will this product play out in the future, and what elements of it would could be extracted to create that impactful force in society. So I think that's where impact comes into play, and that is a crucial aspect of commercialization as well, because you have to convey in some way or fashion that we call it the theory of change in impact investing. So when you're commercializing a particular product, you have to build a theory of change around what are the inputs that are going into the particular development of the product, what are the key activities, and what are the short-term, long-term outcomes from those particular activities that you aim to achieve with this particular development of the product. So that helps the founder to measure how many people that I want to reach in this particular market. What will be the macro and microeconomic benefits that those individuals or society groups will get from using this product. So it goes into the impact thesis, or the impact story goes with the commercial aspect of it. If the founder is looking for or is building a product that wants to create a measurable impact on society. So I think all of this goes together to as the commercialization happens. So that's a very important part, which is I think slowly getting pace in the market today.
Yeah, yeah. And then you mentioned climate tech and sustainability. Why is it important to look at these two particular divisions?
I think climate tech and technology, it's it's one of the most, how do I say, very urgent needs of today's society, because there's a huge gap. So I think there's a UN report that came out recently that said that we need about $3 trillion plus to invest in climate focused technologies if we want to meet the 2050 net zero goals across the world, which we're seriously lagging behind. So I think if we build a value proposition for if we build a commercialization strategy around products in climate tech or products in AI, and with a focus on solving certain climate solutions, which is let's say carbon removal, or tackling pollution or clean water in different areas of society that don't have access to it. I think that is very important if we want to meet the 2050 net zero goals across the world, because we invest primarily today. If you see climate investments, it's typically towards new technologies like EVs, uh, or hydrogen, or any upcoming technologies, but we're not spending enough on climate resilience and climate adaptation for societies that are already seeing the benefits of climate change across the world and don't have the necessary tools to actually mitigate those consequences. So you have houses in low-lying areas that are facing severe floods, and they don't know how to go about it, and they have to pay more for insurance because the risk for damage increases over the next few years. So they're bearing both the financial brunt of it as well as the damage that causes the houses in terms of physical damage, in terms of the mental well-being of all the people around the world. And we see that not only in developing countries like India, where there's no concept of insurance in the first place, and there's no concept of how climate resilient housing in the first place, which makes it more severe in the market to actually, which makes it a larger need to actually invest in climate adaptation and resilience. But you also see that in developed countries where insurance companies are increasing the insurance every year because the risk for climate events are increasing around the world, and you see that in the news all the time in terms of floods, in terms of different extreme events, weather events across the world. And the impact of this is apparent in terms of farmers, in terms of people who are losing their mental well-being over extreme climate events, who are losing businesses in terms of failed crops, and who are losing that access to supply chain because of damage to severe infrastructure. So this definitely is the need of the hour, and we need to invest more in products that solve for this particular problem that we face, because it's only going to get worse over the next few years as the frequency of climate events grow further. So I think, yeah, definitely we need to invest. Not enough is being done at this point, I would say.
Tell me, what do you think early stage entrepreneurs need to keep in mind?
Yeah, I think today's day and age, the aspect of entrepreneurship is has to include a certain element of technology, a certain element uh, of growth and scale built into it. So I would say from a technology perspective, because you see a lot of startups talking about AI, and but there's very little insight into what AI means. So I would maybe look into what AI means in the first place. Is AI is, if you're including an AI model into your startup, which means that AI uses a vast amount of past data to train its model. So what that means is, if you're building a machine learning algorithm or an AI algorithm, it uses past data sets to learn patterns, to learn insights into how your consumers buy, and what are the purchasing patterns, and then builds on to that element to optimize those patterns in the future. So any entrepreneur who wishes to include technology or certain element of AI has to have a large data set in the past. So I maybe divide this answer into two aspects. One is for early stage startups, and one is for a bit of mature stage startups where they know where they want to go, and they want to scale with AI. So for early stage startups, maybe I would think about the fact that if you don't have that large amount of data, maybe use technology or AI as a value addition rather than a core concept within your product. And over time, 3 4 years, you will have a large enough data set to then optimize your operations or optimize your delivery or product using AI. But then for mature companies like manufacturing or different elements of startups that are building products and services and are in the advanced stage, let's say Series A or Series B, then they can actively integrate AI because they have such a large data set to work off on. So they can use some element of technology in terms of AI optimization or AI delivery to solve for a particular need in addition to the ones that are already doing. So they can use AI to optimize certain aspects of the solution and to remove certain aspect of manual labor in the process. So I think they can, it's across two dimensions. So I think both are very different in terms of how they want to use technology to do that. I think second aspect of it is today attention spans are reducing quite a bit, and customers decide whether they want to buy a product in a matter of split seconds. So I think early stage entrepreneurs, I would advise them to define a very strong value proposition that they want to pursue their product with, and very quickly communicate that with the audience in itself. So they have to very quickly think about what is the value addition that they have to the particular audience, what is the problem that they're solving, and how are they solving it, so that their customers know that okay, this is the problem that I have, this is the solution that they're offering, and this is the value for money that I'm getting for this particular product. So I think uh, on two aspects, one is technology, and of course one is the value proposition that they're developing, is they have to have both these aspects in place in today's market, which is very crucial because with technology evolving, technology is a key aspect of every business that comes up, or any idea or commercialization aspect that happens. So I would say at this point, in addition to the to building a very strong uh, insight into what the customer wants, the entrepreneur also has to think about how they want to convey the value proposition to the end customer and to the stakeholders at large.
Are there any books you recommend for entrepreneurs to keep an eye out for?
I would recommend three books at this point. There's a very good book called The Third Wave by Steve Case, which talks about how technology is being integrated into our daily lives and into different industries. So has incredible examples in manufacturing in our daily life where we're integrating technology without us even knowing that it's happening, and it's very exciting to see so many examples of it. I think also played out during COVID, that because in my last startup we did a lot of work with manufacturing industries to incorporate social distancing technologies where cameras could detect whether workers were detecting wearing masks or not on the factory floor. So different examples across the field, and it's a very good book to learn more about or think more about different models that founders could use in their startups as well. So I think that's one recommendation. Second recommendation I would recommend is there's a great book called Startup Playbook, which is by Bhargava and Will Herman. I think they talk about how founders can go from idea to building a strong value proposition to execution itself. So how they can think of their ideas and how they can mature their ideas into full-fledged companies. So that's a very good book that I recommend, and something that I gift a lot of my founder friends as well. So I think this is a very good book. And lastly, I think this is something that's changed my thinking over the past years, which is it's a book called Thinking in Bets by Annie Duke. It's a book on probabilistic thinking, and it's not specific to entrepreneurship, but also in personal lives or professional lives. How we think about decisions in terms of what outcomes do we want from the decision, and what is the least probable or most probable outcome, and acting accordingly. I think this is a great book for entrepreneurs because they have to make decisions about their startups almost like more frequently than anyone else who's working in the corporate space, because they have to constantly pivot, constantly think about how they want to innovate and stay ahead of competition and different aspects of sustainability, technology, and different aspects. So I think this is a great book to build foundational learning principles or mental models to go ahead with it. And this book is very interesting because it's about a poker player who makes decisions on the poker table, and how that links to decisions in daily lives as well. So I think this is a great book that I've read in the past. Yeah.
Interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Is there an ideal sort of in today's times or in the recent past, is there an ideal startup that you can share as an example that comes to mind that has sort of cracked all elements according to you?
Um, let's see. I would say Zerodha is a very interesting example.
Somebody else I spoke to also said the
Ah,
same recently.
yeah. No, Zerodha is, I think, is very inspiring because the startup was built, from my understanding, with zero external funding. It was all bootstrapped. The Kamath brothers did a wonderful job in meeting a particular requirement in the market, that and filling that gap very effectively. So Zerodha is a very inspiring story for me into how startups should be built from the ground up and how they could be scaled. And today, I think they're paying it forward by also having a venture fund or a grant fund where they're supporting early stage founders as well. So very inspiring founders, and very interesting background as well as to how Zerodha was built. But I also see like this new wave of college entrepreneurs. So I was speaking to an entrepreneur last week who was in his second year of undergraduate degree. He has no financing, but he's doing catering work, and he's DJing on the side to support his startup dreams. So I think there's such a huge wave of entrepreneurship coming up in India. I think you'll see a lot of inspiring stories going forward to who or founders who will do anything to meet their passions or make their ends meet, but also go beyond to launch different startups. And I think I'll share more details on this founder later on, but he's building a great startup in the field of technology. So I think something to look out for later on. But I'll share more as his journey goes along as well.
Is there something I'm curious to know because you engage with so many founders and you sort of are within those circles? Is there something that you have noticed that makes them different from the rest that actually leads to their success?
Yeah, I think one aspect to it is they're very delusional about the startup. They're not delusional in the sense that they're arrogant about the fact that their product will work. They're delusional about the fact that they have that seed in them that they want to solve for a particular problem in the market. They'll do anything to go about doing it, and any evidence in the past that suggests that they're able to weather those storms in terms of building the product from the ground up and not actually listening to the people around them, but actually sticking to the lane and actually going about building a product that they have more conviction in, and the ability to pivot as well. So the ability to change from the course that they intended to go on in the first place, but then sticking to a particular goal in the future to meet that demand. So I'd say one aspect that's common among the college kid that I talked to you about just now is that they want to make their dreams happen in any way or form, and they're not victimized by any aspect of not having enough money or not having the resources to do it is something that is quite common among the startups that I talk to. Yeah.
Rohan, tell me what excites you about what you do and what you look forward to achieving.
Um, That's an interesting question. So I think, based on my experience in Oxford, based on my background, I'm very excited about the fact that we're all going back to different elements of society where, with these diverse perspectives, we're contributing to different elements of society, whether it be environmental goals where people are building climate tech startups, entrepreneurs are building climate tech startups, they're finance professionals who are moving from traditional backgrounds in finance to more sustainable investing type roles. And what excites me is the different innovative solutions that are coming to market, and now more often than not, if you see the example of India as well, there are many universities that are promoting entrepreneurship for undergraduates and for graduates, and that's something that really excites me because this gives people the platform to think of innovative ideas and finding the resources to actually put those ideas into place and take them to market. And what I'm seeing is there's also a huge aspect uh, of sustainability coming into the market today, where traditional finance managers across the world are putting more and more focus on sustainability and impact, whether it be Africa, Asia, or different parts of emerging markets as well across the world. And I'm really looking forward to it and being a part of this journey as well, just to contribute to the entire movement of global energy transition, sustainability as well. So I think very excited to see what innovations come up in the future in this space, particularly from entrepreneurs in these markets.
What's the most basic sustainability strategy or tech strategy that you can share for somebody who is an entrepreneur listening to this podcast, completely out of idea about what they're doing, just from the basic? What is the three or whatever? I leave that to you. But what is the most basic strategy that you can share for them to take away from this episode?
I think a basic strategy, if you want to incorporate sustainability or technology into the mix, first is I would recommend that you build a theory of change. What that means is build a standard theory. I can share a format as well to share with the audience, but going all the way from inputs, which is understanding what resources do you have in place, how will you put those resources to use, and what are the key outcomes that you envision coming out of those activities. So think about it from the perspective of broader macroeconomic benefits that your product will cater to. So whether it be economic well-being or mental well-being, and that leading up to better financial inclusion for the economy for these many people. So think about it from a broader perspective, but also from a micro perspective as to how your startup will fit into the theory of change for sustainability. This is in terms of impact and how much impact that you want to create and what is the scale of impact that you want to create with the startup. Secondly, in terms of technology, I would maybe look into there are very cost-effective measures in today's day and age in terms of technology. You don't have to actually build everything by yourself, but you can integrate different aspects of technology. So whether it be cloud computing, where AWS and Microsoft have so many algorithms ready to deploy on their platform, you just have to customize it based on your requirements. So think about it from the perspective of uh, to work backwards from the perspective of what problem your customer is facing and think about how you can build different technologies, ready-made technologies that you can integrate into your product to meet those requirements in terms of technology. And third, I would say in terms of sustainability, think about I think don't stick to one particular lane in terms of what your product can do, but actually build on different aspects. So let's say, for example, if you're building a health tech company where you want to connect or build let's say you want to provide low cost medicine to different elements of society, but then you also want to, in doing that, you also have to solve for the fact that these low income families or middle income families might not have the necessary financial resources or the technological ability to pay for those medicines. So also have to consider how can you integrate finance into health tech by thinking about fintech companies or fintech solutions with health tech. So you have to think of different aspects of how technology and sustainability come together, not only in terms of the strategy that you want to convey, but also in terms of which technologies would be value addition for your main product and how could it support your main product as well. So that could really unlock significant value for your customers who might be facing different requirements and who can really benefit from the synergistic value of multiple products all built into one. So I think I would say I would recommend think about ancillary products as well in terms of, and not just stick to one particular lane in terms of sustainability, because there are different aspects to it that you're solving for. So let's say, for example, if you're building a health tech company, you're solving for not just for mental well-being or emotional well-being, but you're also solving for reduced carbon emissions. Because if you're building a telehealth platform that doesn't require people to travel to different places, then you're saving on carbon costs, carbon emissions, and transportation costs as well. So reduced financial burden, reduced uh, carbon emissions and pollution. So it has to be a bit broader in terms of how you're thinking, and not just in terms of one product, one solution, one outcome, but then one product, multiple solutions, and multiple outcomes that you're solving for.
Thank you so much, Rohan, for joining me. It's been a pleasure to have this conversation, and I'm sure the listeners will find it insightful. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Karishma. It was great speaking to you as well. Thank you.
Knock, knock. Are you still here? Well, I'm super happy that you are. Thank you so much for watching and tuning in. Please do like, share, and subscribe to Karishma Connect across platforms. And I look forward to bringing you many more such amazing stories from around the world. If you've got one, please do get in touch. Lots of love.